And now, everyone, please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Jenelle Ferrer.
Hey. Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And thank you guys, everyone here on campus joining us, as well as those online that are joining us virtually. I am Jenelle Ferrer. I am the course director here at Full Sail, and I teach media entrepreneurship in the Media Communications Bachelor Program. I am here to welcome the session with Managing Freelance Work with Emily Wray, who is the course director for web design and for one of our portfolios. She has also been a media consultant for over 13 years, so she's pretty amazing. We also have Mike Dunn over here, who's the course director for Introduction to Media Communications, both in the Media Communication Bachelor Program. And he is a creative guru. So you guys are in for a feast. So let's put our hands together and welcome these two amazing individuals.
Thank you.
Just want to ask anybody in the back of the house if they'll switch over to our slides that we've got loaded up here whenever you get a chance.
Awesome. Isn't it awesome how Full Sail can make just like people talking look cool on video? That's pretty cool.
Especially for those of you who are our students and see us just in class. Now we look magical.
I know. I brought my own Madonna headset. This is actually from my personal collection
I
too.
will be voguing later in the presentation.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. This is going to be interesting because today is really a true workshop. We're actually, a lot of sessions you go to, you can like just go sit in the back and maybe like look at your phone a little bit. This is not going to be one of those. This is going to be one where we are actually going to get down to work. We have a little bit of time today, so we're going to actually have you guys get in the process of working on your freelance presentations.
That's right. So as you were instructed when you came in here, the use of your laptops is actually encouraged during this session. We're hoping that you take away a couple of pieces of important information, tools, and tips that you can immediately start translating into what you hope is a productive and profitable freelance career.
Right. Let me ask a quick question too. Who's ever gotten paid for something creative they've done, like so far? See, this is really awesome, and this is what I love seeing, especially from Full Sail students that are currently students, is that even in our first day in my class, Media Communications, these are students early on in the program, and you already have something really valuable to give. So hopefully today we'll take that idea of you're getting paid for your creative work and take that to the next level for you.
That's right, and many of you are multidisciplinary, which means you can do more than one thing. You wear many hats. One of the courses that I teach, Editing for the Web, I tell my students who are media communication students that even if they have no desire to develop websites as their career, with the skills that they're developing in their classes, they are certainly capable of taking on freelance work to build websites for clients as another income source.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
That's true. So this is us. We get a rap in our department for dressing very similarly at meetings. We actually had to coordinate a little bit today to make sure that we...
There wasn't too much denim. Usually I have like 8 pieces of denim, so
today I
went
with 3, but I was a little warm in my jacket.
Yeah, it's a good look.
It's a good look, yeah. So Mike and I both do a ton of freelance work around the Orlando community, but also, globally. We have clients all over the place and are here today just to share some insight with you, but also to invite you to ask questions and to enter in the process of developing tools and systems to help launch your own freelance gigs.
Absolutely.
That's Mike. I'm Emily.
Okay, that's you. Okay, cool. So this is me. Who the heck am I? You can put whatever you want in the little symbols there. But who the heck am I? My name is Mike Dunn. I've been with Full Sail for almost 10 years, and I actually started at Full Sail just as a musician. I was in these amazing recording studios, using up all the free gear and pressing a bunch of knobs. They don't let me do that anymore. Anyone in here a musician? Anyone play any instruments? Awesome. Okay, cool. I can kind of see some of you. There's a lot of lights in here. So yeah, I started as a musician and worked a lot in the music industry. I was signed to a label and I got a big van and a trailer and went on tour all over the country and spent a whole bunch of money and went in a lot of debt. That was really fun. So in that process, I needed to do all these things. I needed to hire designers to design shirts and websites for me, and then I needed to hire directors to go shoot music videos for me. And at the end of the day, I said, oh man, I'm spending a whole lot of money on this stuff. Why don't I just pay myself to do all this stuff? So that's what I did. And now I do a lot of that stuff. Okay, there's the slide, cool. So when I put together this slide, I was like, I just went through the past year and like took a bunch of projects, and I was like, yeah, those are the things that I do. So I'm a complete creative weirdo. I do everything from photography. I work for the Orlando Weekly once in a while, doing freelance photography for them. I direct music videos. I shoot weddings. Those are beautiful. It's Valentine's Day today, right? You can go look at my weddings and cry. Yeah. It's great. I promote some festivals. I put on a festival last year. That was really fun. Yeah, a whole lot of different things. And for a long time, this might be true for a lot of you, but I had like 8 different business cards. Does anyone have more than 1 business card? Okay, I do too, and I still have 2. I slimmed it down to 2 now, but for a while, I felt really kind of scatterbrained because I had all these different interests that I like to do. And what do you need me for? I'll give you a different business card. My wallet was just very heavy, not with money though, with business cards. So now that kind of slimmed down into one thing, and I essentially just call myself a creative director for my own company. It's called Rest and Rebel. And I had one student that asked me, well, how do you become a creative director? And my answer was, you put it on a business card. In working on all of these different disciplines, I think a lot of it is just giving yourself permission to offer those to people, to say that you have something valuable to offer. And you don't need anyone's permission to put whatever title you want on your own business card, because essentially what we want you guys to walk away with, especially in our program, Media Communications, is to train you guys to be nano agencies. And what I mean by a nano agency is you are one person that is capable of doing all these different things, and that's coming from your one creative vision there. One big thing I always share with our students is that professionalism, especially in the media industry, does not equal being boring. People are coming to us every day for our specific weirdo vision of what this creative outlook is. So I like to infuse that into everything I do, which is a little bit weird and a little bit fun.
All right. And I took a very long and winding road to being up here as an instructor at Full Sail. My dad always wanted me to be an attorney, and my mom wanted me to be an artist. And I have my undergraduate degrees in criminology and psychology, none of which I use today. So when I got my first job working for the Florida legislature right out of school, I immediately gravitated toward doing all of the web work, design work, and presentation work within the office. And I felt like I really came alive and found my calling, and then just decided to start my own freelancing consulting business. I went back to school at night to learn all the things that I needed to learn, like the Adobe Suite and all kinds of wonderful technical programs. And when I first started out, it's like, how do you get clients? How do you establish yourself as this entity that does this kind of work? Well, you just go out there and do it. You first of all find friends who need things, or you make up your own projects, and then you get your creative work out there in front of people. Today, I focus a lot on instructional design work, web design, graphic design, and branding, but I do a lot of everything, whatever's really needed for a project. And today we're going to talk about what it means to be able to articulate that, right? How do you characterize your services, bundle them, package them, articulate your value to a client or to a project? This is just my slide's not as fun as Mike's because I was putting it together really late last night. So it's just a screenshot of my website where I highlight different projects that I'm involved in, from web design to creating partnerships between students and other community organizations, to presenting digital storytelling work, to helping students develop portfolios. All right.
This slide explains itself, I think. But
I was inspired to add this slide after the Grammy party on Sunday night. I was there, had a great time, saw many faces there. Freelance is a lot of work, right? It's not just about the creative aspect of sitting down with your computer and and or whatever equipment that you use to do that, but also the managing the business side of going out and getting those projects and pitching them and putting together proposals and having clear communication with clients about expectations and outcomes, and also then the billing process and how to get paid. And then there's this thing called taxes, and it's a bunch of work.
Right.
We decided for this particular time that we get to be with you guys today that we'd like to do it in more of a workshop format. We certainly have our war stories, and we can tell you, about this time that this client did this, and then we did that, and then how, we ended up saving the day with some great freelance piece. But you're all at varied places in your careers and different disciplines. And today we'd like to invite you into the space of thinking about, what do I need to do to initiate freelance work, or create an income stream with freelance work. So as we alluded to a little bit before, this is going to be participatory. And what that means is you guys do stuff too, okay? So as we begin this process, we want you to think about who is your ideal client? Who is it that you want to work with? What are the types of projects that you want to take on? I'd like to ask for a volunteer to raise your hand, introduce yourself, say what your degree program is, and what kind of work you're looking to do out there. Yes, sir.
I'm Nathan Lucci. I'm in the game art program, and my ideal client would probably be an architecture firm.
Okay. An architecture firm. That's interesting.
Example.
Great example of how diverse these answers are going to be.
Yeah.
Somebody else. Right there. Yes, sir.
I'm Luke Laterio. I'm in the music production program, and I would like to work for a musician.
Okay.
Yeah.
Music production. All right. Another one back there. We got Callie in the back.
Hi, I'm Callie Walker, and I'm in the media communications program. And my ideal client would be someone like a car company who needs a kind of like artistic, like commercial or thing like that. So.
Okay. So videography, photography work?
Yeah, and branding.
And branding. Okay. Fantastic. Who else? Let's just bring the mic up and pass it around up here. I'm just trying to get a feel for the audience and what everybody does in here.
Hello, I am Tara Davis. I am a game art student, and my ideal client would be someone who needs concept art or any ideas for character designs and whatnot. I've sold a few designs already, but I'd like to work for more people who need stuff like that.
All right. Character art, branding, videography, working game design, architecture firm, music production.
Hi, my name is Joshua Colon. How are you doing?
Great.
Awesome. So I'm a digital arts and design student, and I would love to work for We Are Royale because they're freaking amazing.
Okay, and what type of work would you like to do for them?
Honestly, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Since that's what they teach us, but I would love to do animation and 3D art.
Okay.
It's like my thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting, just to piggyback on what you said there, a lot of us are capable of doing a lot of things, but it's also really important to get a barometer of what do I love doing, right? What is it, what are the projects that I'm going to seek out above any others?
My name is Jordan Potter, and I am a film student. And an ideal client for me would be something like a church who's trying to put a message into an abstract video or something like that. So.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. Maybe one more right over there. And then we've got one up here in the front. Hi.
My name is Amoy Morgan. I'm in entertainment business, and my ideal client would be be marketing consulting for a musician or an agency, data analysis, that type of thing for musicians.
Okay. Marketing, musicians, entertainment business. And then, yes, sir.
Hi, I'm William Douglas, and I'm also a film student. I'm still kind of unsure what my ideal client is, but I'm trying to go to the photojournalism, documentary work, that kind of editorial, that kind of place. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and of the students who were so brave to introduce themselves and raise their hands, will you now raise your hand if you already have a portfolio? All right, so.
Good amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I was really, this is better than I expected, actually.
Awesome.
I was like, I don't know who an ideal client is. You guys had some really awesome answers. So first off, thank you for hopping in, because this workshop is about hopping in and sharing that experience. I also heard some things of a couple of you talking about actually working for agencies, which is kind of an interesting middle ground of freelance that I've actually done in my career as well. Sometimes we have these like ideal agencies where you're like, I would love to work for this agency. And once you actually get inside the industry, you're like, oh, there's literally like 6 people that work in this agency, right? But a lot of times agencies will hire out for freelance work as well. So I've done a lot of freelance work for agencies in that position as well. So that definitely also counts in that freelance position there.
Absolutely. It's a nice blend of being able to have the structure and the resources of a larger agency, but also the autonomy of working for yourself.
Absolutely. And I also think that, you know, if we think about the way the industry has grown and changed in just the past 10, 15 years, who has a family member with a small business? Or yeah, relative with a small business. Who can give an example of the small business your family owns? Yeah.
Dog broker.
Okay, hold on.
Dog broker.
There's a dog broker. So they make...
Dogs to like pet shops.
Oh, okay.
We buy dogs from kennels and then sell them to pet shops.
Yeah, it sounded a little more like gray market than I thought there. I like that, though. I'm a dog broker. I want that on a business card, actually. That's really good. Anyone else? What's the family business? I think the dog broker is pretty cool. Okay, right.
We got one right back there.
Yeah, right back there.
Construction and then special places.
Wow.
Awesome. Great example. So let's think back, 10, 15 years ago, like the ancient times of digital media, right? Back then they had this thing called like the yellow pages. They still deliver it to my house for some reason. I'm like, this is such a waste of a yellow pages, right? But if you had Uncle Joe's Pizza Shop or our family dog broker, there wasn't really a need for this digital media presence. There was a need for it, but they really couldn't afford it, right? If you think about Uncle Joe's Pizza Shop going to a digital ad agency and saying, hey, we want to advertise Uncle Joe's Pizza. It's like, okay, that's going to be $50,000. Thank you, Uncle Joe's Pizza. Uncle Joe's Pizza couldn't do that, right? But nowadays, every single client out there, every single business has some type of need for the services that you guys offer here at Full Sail, some type of digital presence there. So I think in terms of thinking about that client today, I'd really like you guys to think of something that is within your reach, or at least within your realm of influence, where you can take this work that we're doing today and actually put it into a package to offer.
And that might just be with your family dog brokerage.
Brokerage?
Brokerage.
Yeah, there you go.
Or with the special effects stuff. So again, as we start this discussion, look for the opportunities where you can start to apply and test these waters, test these tools, test the messaging and the languaging, and getting really comfortable. Even if it's with a family member, the practice makes perfect.
Cool.
All right. So, the pitch. We felt like really clever when we were talking about this workshop, and we're like, yeah, let's call it the pitch, the process, and getting paid. Yeah. These are the things that
we are really clever. I don't know what you're talking about
enjoy.
Right now. I wanted some sound effects to come in, like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire thing, though. But anyway.
The lights.
There you go. Yeah.
So the pitch within the context of what we're talking about here today is the articulation. I use that word a lot because getting clear on what you're doing and how you message it is incredibly important within the freelancing realm, and actually I'll say in life, right? So the pitch is, what are you offering, and can you articulate it in 30 seconds or less? What is it that you do? How do you bring value? If you overheard someone talking about a project, a business, or something that they were working on, and you were like, I could totally help this person, what would you go up and say? Right? So I'm going to share a little anecdote here. Last week, I was out having dinner at Shinjung restaurant. It's a Korean place on 50. It's kind of like a little hole in the wall. It's fantastic. And I go there a lot. And there was this man. He was kind of a loud talker. It's a small place, and he was just talking about his business. And based on what I overheard from the conversation, he was the CEO of the business. It is a small yet global entity located and headquartered here in Orlando. And he was just talking about needing more marketing and to optimize his website and to build more of a social media presence and a campaign. And I'm just, I had come fresh from Full Sail. I was still in my Full Sail clothes, and I apparently was still wearing my working hat. And I just took out a business card, wrote my information. Well, some of my information was already on there. That's what a business card is for, but a little bit more. Just went up to him and said, I don't mean to interrupt your dinner, but I heard what you were talking about, and I can help you with everything that you need. And in that case, that was my pitch, because I didn't want to interrupt what he was doing, and I didn't want him to think that I was a creeper for totally what'd you say, marketing? Right. He emailed me on Monday, we met on Thursday, and I'm submitting a proposal to him today, right? And so it can happen as easy as that. But today, as part of this pitch, we're going to invite you to each, and this part's going to be solo work, given that your interests are so diverse, as are your professional objectives. We want you to create a 30-second pitch. Many of you have heard of this as an elevator pitch before, right? So, your ideal scenario is that you're getting into an elevator with some amazing person that you want to work with, and you only have the time it takes to get to the bottom floor up to the top one to introduce yourself and to offer to help with whatever the pain points are and what it is that they do. So this would be that time where you guys take out your technology, whether in the form of a MacBook Pro or a phone or an old school pencil, paper. And I'm going to ask Jenelle, who is right back there, to give us 10 minutes, right? We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we want to keep moving forward. There's a lot of things that we want to do. But we want you guys to each come up with a pitch for your services, what you're offering to this ideal client that we've asked you to think about. And at the close of 10 minutes, we are going to ask for 3 volunteers to come up and give their pitch. You can read it, you don't need to worry about, or if you already have it memorized, you're welcome to perform it here for us on stage. But Jenelle, let's get 10 minutes going. You guys, whoosh. This is the working part of the workshop.
Could have some of that awesome background music too.
I know. What did you say? I have a fire. I gotta go put it. I'll take it. Mm-hmm.
Cue the music.
There you go.
As you guys are writing and putting your thoughts down, if anybody has kind of a question or they'd like Mike and I to kind of come over and help you through that moment, happy to do that as part of the coaching process. Did you want him to go ahead and do the question?
Do you want to hold on to this so it's a little easier?
I will hold on to it.
Then you can hand it to whoever.
Sure, I'll just walk on over. Okay, what do we got here?
Can we pretend we're asking them what their name is, and then we'll just leave this blank?
Absolutely. You guys, there's no rules on this. This is you approaching your ideal client, customer, agency and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is the value that I would like to bring to your organization and or project. And I will do that by fill in the blank.
This is more for Mike, because you work with this kind of stuff. But for like,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Bless you.
We had a conversation the other day about it, but for like travel, I guess, companies, would you more or less like ask, I'm trying to think of how to word this the right way, but would you tell them more of what you have done, or be like, hey, I can do this, I've never done it before, but I can?
That's a really good question, actually. And when it comes to more of a formalized pitch process, I always try to include a little bit of work. I would compare it to thinking about if you were going to direct a commercial for a client, you might show them a storyboard. You probably wouldn't create the whole commercial and say, hey, it's already done. Can I have some money for it, please? You'd say, well, here's along the lines of what I'm looking. So that would be kind of more of a treatment process. I think this first step is really just understanding how you match up with a client and really thinking of yourself as a problem solver more than anything. All these creative skill sets that we work on here at Full Sail are essentially offering a solution for someone. They're out there, they have a problem, and it is something that's completely foreign to them, even just the conceptual thought process of working as a creative. So you have something valuable to offer in that problem-solving format. So I would think in this step, in that 30 seconds, is understanding who your client is, understanding their problem, and understanding how you can solve it through your creative means.
Okay, thank you.
I would also say that directing that potential client to a body of work that showcases your skill set in that area would be valuable as well. Because even though you are saying, yes, I can do this for you, your portfolio is proof of that.
Any other questions? Helpful people.
Jenelle, can I get a time check, please? All right, you guys have about 5 more minutes to put some thoughts down. Be working up the courage to raise your hand and come share it live on the stage with Mike and I.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah.
Is it working? Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Are you a volunteer, sir?
Yes, sir.
Come on,
ma'am.
it's all good.
You can talk into this. She has a headway.
It's gonna be yours. I think we have a couple more minutes. I'm gonna just, before I actually ask for the volunteers, it looks like we've still got 3 minutes. But if you're done and you know that you want to volunteer, raise your hand. Come on, sir. And ma'am. We might have time for more, so continue to work up your bravery.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys.
Hello.
All right, so Jenelle is still going to monitor the time. I think we just have a couple more minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask that we're going to not have a timer or something that goes off. And if you are continuing to work on this, please do. What's going to happen now is we're going to ask these brave souls to share what it is that they've put together, and we are going to offer some positive, productive feedback on their pitch. So if you will, please, again, introduce yourself, your degree program, and then share with us your pitch. I'm going to stand over here, give you center stage.
This is a very big elevator,
yes.
by the way.
Hello, I'm Luke Laterio. I'm in the music production program. My pitch is, hello, I'm Luke Laterio. You must be John Doe. I'm a mutual friend of Richard Vance. I researched and heard from Richard that you are a musician. I would like to produce your music. Let's meet up in Starbucks for some coffee. Here's my card.
Nice.
It works. Thanks for sharing. Awesome.
Hey guys, I'm Joshua Cologne. How y'all doing?
Great.
How are you?
Hey. So, I'm in the DAD program, as I said. All right, so my pitch would be, wait for it. There we go. Hey, whoops. Hey, my name is Joshua Cologne. I'm a multimedia designer, and I have all the creative solutions for your problems. Don't believe me? Check my portfolio.
Nice.
Like.
All right. Hello. I'm Tara Davis once again. I'm in the game art program, and this pitch is like for general people if I'm like doing a commercial or something. So here we go. Are you in need of some decent or okay character designs or concept art? Are you lost like a fart in a tornado and don't know who to consult? Hi, my name is Tara Davis, and I am here to help you with your dilemma. Contact me at tokyozilla@gmail.com for some out-of-this-world concept art.
I love it.
Hired.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have to ask, were you wearing those cool light-up shoes at the Grammy party?
Yes, I was.
Noticed. Yeah. All right, so Mike,
Awesome.
if you want to go ahead and
Yeah, that was great.
That was
I love
fantastic.
it. I think this process can be a little awkward at first of kind of boiling down who are you in this short amount of time. But I think you all had something that was memorable with that, and I think since it's Valentine's Day, it's kind of like that process of asking someone out on a date, right? It's like, I got to work up the courage here to go out and say, let's go get coffee sometime, that kind of thing. So I think the more you make that a welcoming, safe environment for you guys to have coffee and talk about the work that you can do for them, the better. And I thought you all did that. And you really, what I wouldn't shy away from is sharing your personality. They should have your personality as part of your work, If we were just talking about technical skill sets alone, there's lots of people that can do that. You're offering something special, and you want to convey that thing that's special about you as quickly as possible. So I think you all did a great job with that.
Yeah, that's right. It's your unique voice that's going to set you apart, right? And so I definitely appreciate all the enthusiasm and energy that you put into each of your elevator pitches here. One of the things that I'm thinking of is okay, if I actually am in an elevator and you say, check out my portfolio, I don't have a means to do that, right? I'm just sitting here, do you have a business card? Be thinking ahead about those things too. Make sure that there's a clear and easy path. You don't need to write it down. This is the coaching part of it. Yep.
And we do a lot of personal branding work in media communications. And what I really love about personal branding is it gives you that opportunity to explain a whole lot about yourself in a very short amount of time. And obviously, the first, most simple part of that is your business card. So I think even when it comes to, do you guys have business cards? Oh, man, you got to get a business card.
I have a logo, though. I commissioned the logo.
You have a logo. Okay, that's a really good start. Okay, well, we have great media communication students for hire.
Yep.
And they can make you a good, right? They can make you a business card. So I think, it's funny because you can really nerd out about these business card things, these personal branding things, but it's all about just sharing as much about yourself as possible in something that can just fit in your pocket. So when I look at creating some branding work or some collateral work for a client, I think about, well, what is the look and feel of this? What are the colors that I'm using? What is the typography? What is even the touch or the feel of it? If you really want to get nerdy, you can put a scent on your card too, and there's activating all the senses here. But really, the whole goal of it is to share as much about your skill set as possible in that short amount of time. That's what you guys did with your elevator presentation there. It's an awesome job.
Thank you very much. So what I want to do is open up the discussion here to the audience members to say anything that they saw, note, or suggest for these young freelancers. And also, can someone articulate back to us what it is that they do? What are these guys, what are their services? Callie.
I can't remember your name. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Terry. I know that you create art. You are an artist. You can do a lot of different things that involve like art and like designing and things like that. So, and like the way you said it and the way you're like dressed, your style, you can tell that you're an artist. So, it's great. Yeah.
Anybody else? I'm sorry, it's hard to see if I'm missing anybody back there. Yes, ma'am.
I think the one thing that I noticed with everybody is, in my experience as a freelancer and also just networking and making connections, it's super important to let your personality shine through. Because like I know it's kind of awkward and it can be a little difficult to put yourself out there and promote yourself because you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not that good, so maybe I don't need to push myself. But most of the connections that I've made with people, particularly like here at Hall of Fame, like if you do the green rooms, highly recommended. As long as your personality is shining through, even when you're doing your pitch, you're going to make more of an impact if they remember you as like a potential friend and not just like another in a pile of people who are just looking for work. If you are actually like promoting your personality as well as your skills. I've found that that's super important.
Definitely, and that's going back just to making sure that your unique voice is what shines through. Like here at Full Sail, we are developing a whole bunch of students who are insanely talented in film and design and game art and all of these things. But you are all, even though you all have the same tools and the same, foundational concepts and techniques that you will use to create your art, it is your unique voice and your authentic take on a project or a design problem that is going to get you hired for a particular job.
Right. I thought you brought up a lot of great points there, and I think for me, even in my career, I had to feel like I had to get over some ickiness of networking. I think we need a new word for networking because it just sounds too stale, too not personal enough, But when I think about it now, all of us in here have some type of gift to give. And if you think about your creativity as something that you get to just bring into life, that's an amazing gift, right? So when I think about networking now or the possibility to connect with a new client, I think about, well, I get the opportunity to bring something new into the world. I get the opportunity to give that gift. So, and that doesn't feel nearly as icky. And at the worst case scenario, maybe I make a new friend, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought even today, Emily said, were you wearing those amazing shoes at the Grammy party? That's something that kind of sticks with you. I want to hear about the shoes now.
They lit up. I was like, what?
Right, exactly. And
there they go.
There you go. Oh, those are the ones.
Those are them.
Okay, cool. Those are genuinely awesome. I want to know about those shoes. So those are things that can stick with you, and I think that maybe we can brainstorm about a better word for networking. But I think you're exactly right. It's much more of a personal act of just getting to know someone and having a connection on some level.
And a conversation about how can I help you? These are the things that I'm passionate about, and where's that intersection point between what it is that you need or are looking to do with your project or your business.
Yeah.
Because even if you are not going to do work for that person, if you have a personal connection with that person, they're going to think of you if that comes up.
Absolutely.
I have friends in the game. I'm in the game art degree. I graduate in 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
So I have friends in this industry, and I had to do that through networking because this was last year's you're going to be able to have those people along the way with you.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly important.
And yeah.
Establish friendships.
To speak to your point, in my own experience with freelancing, word of mouth referrals is the most powerful source of marketing, right? Because if someone that you know and trust then recommends your services to another person that knows and trusts them, there's not as much of a hard sell that you have to do. You don't have to prove yourself as much because there's already a level of trust that's been established through that connection. All right, well, thank you guys so much. Can we get a round of applause for these brave souls? Thank you guys so much. All right, so those were some ideas about creating the pitch, the articulation, starting that conversation about what it is that you can bring into working with your ideal client. But now we want to talk a little bit about the process, right? So this is more of like the nitty-gritty kind of stuff that's, in my opinion, not as fun as just sitting down to build a website or play in Illustrator to come up with some logo ideas. And that is, gosh, the process of onboarding a new client, intaking, somebody who wants to work with you, how to communicate all of the initial proposals, recommendations, how to do the analysis of their unique problem, and how you are going to solve it with your amazing freelance skills. And this part takes a lot of time, you guys. And it takes a lot of time before you're even getting paid for it, right? So there's a certain amount of work that happens as you're trying to get a job or trying to secure a paying project. And there's going to be an outlay of time and an outlay of work that may or may not result in you getting the job, right? So for example, let's say someone contacts me and says, I need a new website. Great, I can definitely help with that. As you can see from my portfolio, I do that kind of work. But now I need to find out about what are your specific needs in terms of design, layout, content, functionality. And we need to have a pretty in-depth conversation about, what your expectations and hopes are for this project and how does that align with the things that I can provide, right? So aligning the expectations and the outcomes on both sides. Now this individual is looking at you as the expert in this particular realm, right? So if someone comes to me and says, I need a website, they're looking at me to be that expert to provide them and guide them through this process. They don't know what they need to tell me. Only I know the information that I need to elicit from them to get everything that I need to actually do the job, right? And that is a lengthy process, right? So as we are talking about this sort of the nitty-gritty or the idea of onboarding, we're also talking about how do you systemize repetitive actions or processes in your business. Now, all this probably sounds like really dry and boring, but the idea is to create a system or a tool that you can use over and over and over again to create efficiency in your workflow with clients, right? So instead of spending 5 hours every time that I need to create a proposal or gather information for a client, I spend some time building a tool. Maybe it's comes in the form of an intake, a project inventory survey that then reduces that 5 hours to an email that says, please fill out this intake form so I can gather all the information that I need. Now I don't have to drive across town to meet you. I don't have to schedule the 3 hours that it would take to have the in-person conversation. The conversations need to happen, right? But it'd be better if they happened after you had more information that could drive that conversation.
It's also just always good to have something in a written form that you can reference later on. It's easy to even have that conversation and sit down at the coffee table and say a lot of wouldn't it be cool ifs, and then walk away and be like, what were we even talking about kind of thing, So I think with all your clients, that first step is really analysis. We talked about all of these skill sets that you guys are practicing here at Full Sail are means of problem solving. And you can't effectively solve a problem if you don't really know what the problem is. So that first step of going through the process of understanding who this client is going to include all of these questions about who they are, who are they trying to reach, what is their competition, what means have they used in the past, what is their budget, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot that goes into it.
What's not working.
Yeah.
And a lot of that information you can gather virtually prior to sitting down in front of a client with your ideas already in place.
Right.
All right. So this process is, what's your workflow? Right? You've had that conversation with your ideal client, and they're like, absolutely, I do want some game art. What's the next step? Yes.
Perhaps like posting your portfolio on different websites and whatnot, and getting other people involved and sharing your work, possibly. I'm not too sure.
I think we're probably might work in the beginning of the process. What we're going to discuss now is kind of that phase where someone wants to hire you now, and they say, "This looks great." Like, okay, what are our next steps? Which literally I've had emails where it's like, "Okay, let's do it. What are the next steps?" And you want to have a good answer for what are those next steps.
Because they're counting, if they've never initiated a game art project before, they have no idea what happens next, other than to say, I'm willing, I'm confident that you can do the job, and I need you to lead me through the process. Looks like we got a couple of questions, so if we can get that mic.
Hello? Okay.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Jolena Kohler. I'm the Media Communications program. Right now, I'm doing freelance brand design. And after a client has agreed to work with me, the next step is trying to figure out what their whole design is. Like, what is their type of style? So something that I found that really works for me would be utilizing Pinterest. Because if I can't meet a client face to face, sometimes it's hard for them to describe over the phone what they want it to look like. So what I'll do is I'll create a private Pinterest board that what they'll do is they'll start to accumulate and add all of the pictures or any type of inspiration, and then everything that they add, I ask them to do a description underneath it of why they like it. So I start getting an idea of what type of fonts they like, or colors, or any type of graphics. So that's kind of my next step in my workflow that I found works best for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great, really highly visual tool that you're using with Pinterest there, and it's virtual. It's something that they can do on their own time and then share that with you. It's not as if you have to be sitting down in front of each other having this conversation, which is great when you're trying to become more efficient with onboarding your clients.
Right. And I think even if you're, for instance, in the world of design, we have a couple designers in here as well. Doing that language interpretive of what a client is actually trying to tell you is really important part of that process. So Pinterest is a good tool for that, because they might choose, for instance, a font that is a handwritten font, right? And that might lead you to think, well, okay, they want more of a natural feel with our design here. So there's bigger messages. Everything that they share with you is actually communicating something about what are they trying to reach with that end product.
Absolutely. And what I like about what you said, Joe, is that you have them articulate what it is that they like and what it is that they don't like about a particular look or feel, which is incredibly helpful for you as you're ascertaining their tastes and putting together a few initial looks for them. I do something similarly when I am building websites for people. As part of my process, I have developed an intake form that I send to them, and which asks things like, well, what features and functionalities do you need? And then I give them a list of those features and functionalities so that they could just simply check something instead of having to think, what are the features and functionality? They might not have the language to be able to come back and tell you exactly what they need, but if they see a list of those things, I need a blog, I need a photo gallery, I need an email newsletter opt-in, right? And so when they see it in front of them, they're like, absolutely, this is what I want to include in this project. But if I just say, what do you need? They might not have the language to be able to bridge that for you.
Right. And you might think about separating your services, even if you're in for instance, if you're in a film program, You know about photography as well. You know about editing as well. You know it's more than just holding a camera, right? You know about concepting an idea. So there's lots of different ways to think about your skill sets as kind of segmentation there.
Absolutely. Okay. I was just doing a quick time check because I want to make sure that we have time to address your questions, but also to kind of work through some of the things that we have upcoming. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jeremy Weidinger. I'm in computer animation. Now I've been, thinking about doing the, independent thing for a while. But for me, by this time, I would have already researched the company. And would it be, presumptuous to have something set up already after knowing the research of the company and everything, and just kind of like just put something specifically designed for that company or that client?
Are you talking about an example of your work? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, something that's not posted, just something tailored to, that particular customer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be considered doing work on spec, where you're, creating something for a client without solicitation, right? And I would say for all of you, creating work on spec can be a great way to build up your portfolio. And in some cases, if it's good enough, they might just get it from you. There was an amazing student piece that we showed last year that was for what was it? Johnny Walker, liquor company. And this film student made this amazing branded piece of these two brothers going on a walk together with this kind of poem in the background. And it was a better commercial than anything I've seen for that brand at all. And that commercial piece that they made on spec ended up getting picked up, spread all over, shared millions of times, So if you do really successful work and you actually dive in and do that work, yeah, absolutely, that cream will rise to the top and you'll get noticed for it.
Yeah, and that's a great tactic when you haven't actually landed that conversation with that client who said, yes, I do want to work with you. These are my problems. Can you create a proposal? It's just that it shows initiative that you are interested in working with a company and share some of your ideas on spec.
I think, and that's kind of like a bigger idea thing, but this works for, your friends, your bosses, potential clients. You're making their choice easy. You're building confidence in what you're doing by showing them that you've already done it. All you need to do is kind of check the box there and sign at the bottom. So I would say the more you can do that, the more you can make other people's jobs easier with your process, the better chances you're going to have of landing that client.
And when you're just starting out and maybe you haven't secured paying work, it's a fantastic way to build your portfolio, right? And to have the creative license to engage in projects that speak to you, right? So when I was first starting out and I was asking friends, like, what can I do for you? How can I help? Logos, websites, graphic design, any of these things. I was doing some pretty fun stuff for friends, but then when I started getting paying clients, I started to get a lot of attorneys, like a lot of attorneys who needed work, which was great. And they're good at paying the bills. But as far as like lighting my creative fire, not so much, right? And especially, when you're first starting out, to get really clear, like I said, on the types of work that you want to do, that's what you want to showcase in your portfolio. You want to showcase the types of work that you want to get hired for. So you can imagine that when I was starting out and I was doing a lot of work for attorneys and adding attorney websites to my portfolio, who do you think contacted me to build a site for them? More attorneys, right? Which was great. Like I said, word of mouth referrals. I worked with this guy who referred me to that one. But then I got wise to what was happening and updated my own branding and marketing materials to more clearly reflect the types of projects that I wanted to do. And that is definitely a luxury that comes with more time and more experience. But when you're first starting out, this idea of designing on spec is a way to engage in cool stuff.
Yeah. We had one student when we were talking about what's our ideal client. I think someone over here mentioned working for a church, house of worship kind of thing. And that's something where that's very much a storytelling element there, where you can dive in and start telling those stories. And that's something where you're looking for a branded piece, like this church, right? They're kind of signing on to this message that you're creating, There's so many ways, and I always recommend, students, like house of worship is a great place to kind of start building that skill set as well, because it's a lot of storytelling that you get get to do. So there's no reason why you can't start that storytelling process now and say, hey, I have this 2-3 minute piece on, on giving, right? That's a big idea topic that you can clearly just present to someone and they can make an easy decision of saying, yeah, put our logo at the end of it and we're good.
Mm-hmm. So what we had planned to do at this point, but kind of given what I see to be kind of the dwindling time that we have available, I'm not going to break us up into another project, but just tell you guys what we had planned. And that is, we wanted you to think about what are the questions that you are constantly and consistently having to ask your clients for each project, right? So like, what are you always having to find out? Generally, those conversations take up some time. How can you automate that process whereby you get those answers without the output of the same amount of time, creating efficiency again in your workflow so that you then have the information that you need to start analyzing the specific project or design problem, so that when you do have that meeting with your client, you can sit down with a strategy already in place that's based on the information that you were able to gather, right? I was going to just show a quick example of, it's a simple, I actually use this as an example in my web class, but this is just a simple project inventory form. There's nothing special or sexy about it. It's a Google form where if someone contacts me and says that they need a website, what I do is I say, thank you so much. I'm very excited to learn more about your project. Would you mind filling out this inventory to give me the details that I need to be able to best serve you on this gig? So it's things like, what's your business's name? How can I contact you? Tell me about your products or your business. Who do you believe is your target audience or your ideal customers? Why do you want a website? What is it needed for? What would be the objectives in developing this website? If you already have a site, which many people do, what do you like? What don't you like? What isn't working? So kind of getting a little bit of insight into their specific needs for contacting you. Who are your competitors? What are their websites? What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? This kind of speaks to what Joe was talking about with the Pinterest board. If they can show me a competitor or some business that they find inspiring and show me that particular website and can articulate what they like or don't like about it, that makes my job easier when I'm developing a solution for them. And then also some technical stuff, like a lot of times small businesses, particularly and entrepreneurs, they need to be experts in the particular realm of their business. So restaurant owners need to have a particular skill set, and many times that doesn't include marketing and web editing or technical sophistication. So there's a certain language that comes with whatever industry that you're in. So when I ask them about where's their domain registered, many people don't even know what that means, right? And they say, oh, I want a website. I already went out and bought www.mybusiness.com. Well, that's great, but that's pretty much the final step in that. And that kind of education and conversation is something that goes along during this initial communication and getting things done. So again, this is just a simple tool that I use to gather information so that I don't have to sit down and have a 3-hour conversation before I'm able to have a meaningful exchange about the details of a particular project. So that's the process part. And now is the fun part, right? Cha-ching. I mean, this is what everybody really wants to know about, right?
Right.
Getting paid.
Finally get to it.
It's great when it happens.
Right.
It doesn't always happen.
That's true.
But there are things that you can do to help ensure a very smooth process within the management of your individual creative processes.
Mm-hmm. So there's lots of different ways to look at invoicing, billing, all of these different things that it comes to working as a freelancer. And the reality is, if you are a freelancer, you're a business owner as well. You're a bookkeeper usually too. You're running the whole thing on top of doing all the creative work too. So for me at least, and we're going to share just kind of our experience with this because there's so many different ways to go about it. For me, there's two ways you can go about it. You can look at billing for a project. You can kind of do an estimate of this is usually how many hours it's going to take me. This was what we're going to charge for the whole product or project, and put a clear number on that. A good starting place for everyone, I would say, is just to give yourself a job today. Congratulations. You just got a job, right? So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Good job. So I would say with your job, you're paying yourself an hourly rate. Now, along with that, you got to take into all of the things that freelancers have to take care of as well. Now, obviously, at the top of that, there's taxes, but freelancers also don't get benefits. We got to pay for our own blah, 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 health insurance, whatever that may be, right? So that goes into that too. So I would be pretty generous on that first option of giving yourself an hourly rate. You know, if you're just going out in the industry, maybe that's anywhere between 25 to 50 bucks an hour, depending on the skill sets that you're providing and what you're working in there. If you have a little more experience under your belt and the work to show that, that might go from 50 to 150 bucks an hour. It really depends, right? And you'll start to learn, depending on the clients that you're working with and the demand of the work, what you're willing to do. Sometimes you get in that lucky position of, well, I don't really have to do this project. Even though it's a great paying lawyer, it really doesn't excite me, because you've had the work to show that process. For me, there's always an awkwardness when it comes to this payment process, and I try to make that as unawkward as possible. I like using a lot of simple online payment methods with that, whether that's going through PayPal or even Venmo. Venmo's an awesome way to get paid, actually. I love Venmo. And along with that, I like to just show them what did you actually pay for here? Really showing them the product there. So that goes a lot into both my pitch process and the invoicing as well, of actually showing the impact of the work that we provided for them. I'm happy to share some examples with that too.
Sure, want to?
You want to share one of those?
Yep,
okay, cool. So this is a really fun one, and this is a fun way for me to to show what I'm going to do for a client and go through the pitch process. So this is my company, Rust and Rebel, and this was a proposal that I wrote up for a client that's a guitar manufacturer, which is like, for me, I'm like, yes, I want to work with you. This is awesome. Let's spend some time on this. So on the front end, we just explain who we are. We like Bruce Springsteen and whiskey. This is kind of part of sharing that attitude, sharing who you are as a person. And like I said, being professional does not mean being boring. Being professional should include your personality along with that. So we go from, the beginning of our scope proposal to actually breaking it down into what we can offer the client. For those of you out there who are also like metalheads, these are terms from Spinal Tap that I use to name my packages. You can use that one too. So what I like to do with a lot of clients that don't really understand what they want out of my company quite yet is I'll work out a couple different packages for them. And this is kind of a marketing trick as well, is if you look, they're usually going to pick the middle option, because when you're looking at a pricing model, no one really wants the cheapest thing, no one wants the most expensive thing. They usually end up right in the middle, right? So usually when I'm thinking, I'm really excited if I get the this goes to 11 package, but I'm completely happy with the Stonehenge package here, right? So when I'm thinking about, well, what are the type of packages that I can put together, that's a lot of the process that goes in that. This was priced out on a project basis. They actually did end up with the Stonehenge model, but who knows, next year they might go to 11. I'm rooting for that, okay? So this is kind of part of that pitch process. If you go to the next page, I'll just share a little bit of the payment process, try to be as upfront as possible. I do ask for a deposit on bigger projects. If it's just something that's quick in a couple days, that's totally cool with me. I don't need the deposit on that. That'll be a quick turnaround. Weddings, unfortunately, I do ask for deposits on. I know it's Valentine's Day. I hate to bum you out, but that's how it works sometimes, right? So a lot of really clear communication in sharing this. I just broke my own confidentiality agreement there. I didn't sign it. And then at the end is just kind of if you go to the next slide there, that's just a kind of wrap-up page. So it's something very simple, very quick, but really communicating the value as quickly as possible on their language, And that's the big thing for me, is I want every step of the way, every piece of collateral that I create for a client, I want it to communicate that I really know who you are. And that's what clients are looking for. They're looking for you to really listen and actually take that information and turn it into, yes, this is the thing that I was looking for that I was unable to create. That's why we're getting hired. That's why we're valuable. So like I said, there's a lot of different ways to go about this, but I would recommend for everyone to kind of start with that hourly model and think about, well, what is the dollar sign I want to put on my hour? Your time is really valuable. You have skills to share right now, today. Whether that's in the realm of photography, what does it take for you to do an hour of photoing, hour of photo work? That might also include the other hour that you're going to spend editing it as well. Question?
So for 3D projects,
yeah.
Even what some people think would be a really simple project would take hundreds of hours.
Sure,
right.
Yeah.
How would you go about pricing that in a way that doesn't scare people?
That's a really good question. And I honestly, even sometimes when I still send out a proposal, I'm like, oh man, I know what I'm worth, but this is kind of scary for someone to get the sticker shock, right? I would look, in that case, I would really try to communicate that time commitment and what that time commitment actually entailed, where you might have different levels for concepting and then like the actual creation. I don't know enough about the 3D modeling, honestly, to really go into it, but there's obviously hours and hours of these steps that go into there. I also might look at, since there's such a lot of time involved with that, some bigger scope projects I'll do on more of a quarterly basis, and I'll say, here are some milestones that we can meet along the way, and here's where you can expect these things so they can track the project. Mm-hmm.
I have a question as well for photography. And how do you combat people that kind of like ask that price is a little bit, like they talk about the price like, that's a little bit too much. Do you think you can give me a little bit of maybe a little bit of discount? How do you kind of combat that issue per se?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the buddy rate. I kind of set my price on the buddy rate. My buddy rate's like a 20% discount usually, and I'll but that same concept of that middle option when it comes to marketing, I'm kind of expecting the buddy rate. So I'll expect for the buddy rate, and then I'll have this kind of gap where I'll say, yeah, I can work with you on that. I can give you a discount. But I would also have a bottom line. I would also say, it needs to. You take a job for a lot of different reasons, but it needs to fulfill one of the reasons why you're taking that job. You're either really excited about it, or you're getting paid well for it, or whatever that may be, or it's going to grow your portfolio. You need a reason why you're taking that job.
Yeah, and understand that bottom line might fluctuate depending upon where you are personally or professionally, right? So like as a student who's looking to build a portfolio of work, you might go ahead and do a pitch and a proposal that says, this is how much this is going to charge, and then someone comes back and is like, oh, I'm not sure that I could really afford that. If you are at a place where, what is driving you is the need to develop a portfolio of work based around events such as weddings or concerts or things of this nature, and this is an opportunity for you to do that work, you might find that there's room for negotiating within yourself because you are getting some value out of it, even if it's not in the form of money in that case. But again, so for me, teaching is my full-time gig here at Full Sail, but I also do a lot of freelancing and consulting on the side. So one of my bottom lines is is my time away from teaching, how do I value that? Right? And we only have so much free time, right? And so if I take on a project, it has to either be lucrative enough or it has to stir some sort of passion inside of me. And that fluctuates too. So let's say I have a lighter teaching month and I know that I'm going to be going on vacation over the summer. I might just take that cash cow project that I'm like, oh, I can't believe I accepted this, but I'm just going to muscle through it because in this case, I want the money, right? Yes, sir. Is that Isaac back there?
No, it's not Isaac.
Sorry.
Let's
see.
It's Alec, actually.
Oh, hey, Alec. Hey,
Hey, what's up? How do you run in those situations where maybe you got recommended by a friend because he knows oh yeah, I know that guy. He does photography work, video work, and you get put into a situation that maybe you're not familiar with. Let's say weddings, for example, because that was brought up, and you've never done weddings before. How do you gear the price of what you're doing, the value of what you're doing to that? And then knowing that there's other competitors in that situation.
I might say just to jump in, that if there's a project that I'm excited about, which builds my skill set in an area that I'm looking to dig deeper in, and I don't have like the ultimate level of confidence, what I will do is accept the project and then hire on a subcontractor, right, who can take lead on it and that I can learn from, but that I've secured this client and that like I'll get some money for interfacing and like managing the work, but ultimately I've brought on somebody that I can learn from who's going to be taking the bulk in doing that.
Yeah, and I think it also goes back to that intake process of what are they actually looking for, really communicating, the aesthetic of what they're looking for and how to execute that. A lot of that for me, if I'm doing weddings, that initial step had a lot to do with understanding who is the competition, what are they offering, what are their rates. I found weddings to be very lucrative. It's this one day, there's a whole lot of pressure on it, Yep. So really understanding what you have to offer, why are they hiring you, and like I said, going back to that intake process is really important.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I wanted to pose the dreaded question that all artists feel.
I know.
What happens when you come across a client that wants to pay you an exposure?
It's going to be great exposure.
I actually...
This is sweat equity. You're going to do all this work, but one day it's going to blow up for you.
Ironically enough, a good friend of mine's a creative director for the Charleston Battery, the MLS team.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a need for intermission music for, like, say, their stats whenever that comes on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, threw my name in the hat. And obviously they're like, well, we don't have a budget for this. We wanted to, normally we would use like a simple loop or, something free that we can grab off of the net, but we want you to compose this. So in that sense, they want me to do the project, pro bono.
Sure.
How do you go about the transition from doing things for exposure to actually getting paid gigs?
Well, what I would say is, again, where is your bottom line for right now? Like, are you at the point where the idea of getting your original music played at at the intermission of this game is worth the time that you would put into creating it alone, right? There's no guarantees as far as the exposure goes, but inevitably you will have a portfolio piece, and there is the value of the experience itself in further developing you as an artist.
There's also the value of the connection. I totally understand what you're saying too, because I'm a musician as well, right? And you would never go up to a restaurant and be like, hey, give us all this food. It's going to be great exposure for your restaurant, But there's also some places where if it's a piece of music, for instance, you have that piece of music forever, right? You've created this. This is your content. You get to use it however you want. So for me, and I've been in situations like that where I might give some music for someone to use for a short video piece, for instance, right? It's kind of a first one's free mentality where, okay, we're going to do this one. Understand that I'm doing a deal for you, but I'd love to continue work with you when you do have the budget. So it's totally up to you. But for me, my process is it's on one of our slides. I hate to spoil. Maybe we can hop over there. Yeah. But it's a hell yeah or a hell no. Because if I'm not excited about it, if I'm not into it in some form, then it's a no.
We decided to have this slide up here towards the end, like in case anybody didn't have like questions, that this would drive the conversation. But it seems like there's no shortage of questions.
True. You're doing great.
But so, and I don't actually know the answer to this, Mike, so I'm going to defer to you. But like, is there an option too where you create the music and license it for multiple uses?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they can use it, but then you can also sell it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can have a single-use form. It's
so then
pretty
it's
simple.
like two birds with one stone. Like.
Yeah. There's lots. I mean, when you own the product, you're kind of calling the shots. So that can be anywhere from it's this super valuable thing. Like Wu-Tang released an album that they made one copy of, and it's like worth $1 million because we can't hear it, right? It's up to you because you own the product there. So it's your call. But ultimately, if I'm talking to someone that's entering the freelance world, you got to find a way to be excited about it, And if you feel like you're going to take advantage of, it's probably a no.
Yes, sir, back there. I see a hand. I see a couple hands.
So, two freelance things I pursue is lettering graphic novels and doing copywriting.
Cool.
And I find that there's a lot of transferable skills in there because it's just using typography and like focal points on text to tell someone else's story.
Absolutely.
So is there some way you would go about like demonstrating or stating how the skills are transferable to someone who may not be so into new age entertainment and marketing, stuff like that?
I actually have one example that I share in my class, and we show, everyone has an innate, just human connection to good design. You can show people 2 different examples that know nothing about design, and they're going to say, yeah, that's the good one, right? And the example I give with that is just a resume that has exactly the same amount of information of it, and that might be even one of your offerings as well. Typography, layout, how these pieces fit together. Let's charge to really make a resume look nice for someone. So I would make it as simple as possible to show them an A and B on what you can offer with that.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on that, if your gift service offering doesn't lend itself to an amazingly visually stunning portfolio of work, think about the value of case studies, right? So articulating, that's like my magic word. Articulating the value that you're bringing in that. So maybe it is like an A-B comparison, but then also you and your unique approach then outlining and explaining particularly what you did to address the situation, design, opportunity, etc. I think about this because I have a lot of students who are interested in public relations work, right? And so like, how would you build a public relations portfolio? It's not like graphic design or web design. So the idea of writing up your experiences, which is also a demonstration of your skills in writing, which is an incredibly important skill for any discipline that you're in. But being able to then talk about an opportunity, a project, and to really detail your own process, like detail how you went through the project or what your approach was, to show, that like we can all say that we're graphic designers, or we can all say that we're public relations specialists, but like, how is it that you can show your unique value in that arena?
That might also be something to communicate with your client beforehand of how often you're going to kind of meet these milestones. If you have a long-term client, say something that's not just very simple project-based within a certain amount of time. We've both had clients where we're working on a retainer, for instance, and they really want to see their return on their investment. And you need to really dive into analytics and data to actually show, well, here are the clicks that are growing to the website. Here's how they're meeting the call to action, whether that's buying a product or just following us on a social medium or improving your rating on Yelp. There's a lot of ways to look at this, but you really need to communicate that return on investment to your client.
Absolutely. And I was having a conversation with another course director before coming here, and it's the idea of being able to manage the expectation, like your expectations, their expectations, and then like demonstrated outcomes, like what can you actually show or prove that's been done here. And working on retainer is a trickier one because it's like, hey, give me this amount of money for this amount of time. Sure, that sounds great for the freelancer, but for the client, it's like, well, like, what are you going to do during that time? And making sure that you can show that, right? To set out on the front end when you're pitching or proposing this idea that in this quarter, in this month, in this week, these are the outlined tasks that I have. I can't, say to you, exactly how many hours this is going to take. I estimate this, but it would be a better deal for you if you put me on retainer to handle those things that come up, when I can't get the artwork that I need, or it turns out we need to go shoot something else. That's all additional time that would then be built into that particular pricing structure.
Yep.
Any more questions? I see one right there.
I lost my train of thought there. Okay, so starting off, how do you figure out what you're actually worth, as far as putting yourself out there and stuff?
What I would say, and I get this question a lot because I work in portfolio development with students who are looking to get out there and ask that exact same thing, and my answer is always to research. Like, research what other people are getting paid to do similar kinds of work, not just within agencies, but other freelancers, right? And you're going to have to contextualize what you find out with how much money you need to make to do that job, right? So let's say the gentleman over here who's spending hundreds and hundreds of hours on a rendering, there's a price point that he has to meet because there's only so many hours in a day. And if you're charging an hourly rate and you've got rent or healthcare or you want to eat this week, there's a certain price point that you have to meet. So it might be a little bit of trial and error at first to find that sweet spot, especially when you're first starting out and having to take on, maybe not having to, but choosing to take on projects on a budget or for friends or pro bono to build that, that portfolio of work.
And I think that your perception of value will change as you move throughout the industry. There are jobs that I do now where I never would have thought it would be valued at that level, but now I understand how much work goes into it, right? Where I might look at something like a wedding, and a wedding videographer, photographer might get paid $3,000 to $5,000 for a wedding, right? And I would be like, that's an incredible amount of money, and it's great. It is a good gig, but I didn't consider, the consults that go along with that, the engagement session, the travel that goes along with that, being there for 12 hours, from the beginning to the end, and then going back and editing for another 12 hours and delivering this content, There's a lot of work that goes into it that I wasn't aware of, even in just that sliver of working in freelance. So, like I said, your idea of that value will change and grow as you move throughout the industry.
And as you also become more confident in your value and in your skill set, right? So I do web development, graphic design, and another area that I focus in is instructional design. And a lot of people don't know what that is, but it's like the art and science of developing curriculum for how people learn. And it requires a lot of thought work, right? It's not just like demonstrative in an output. I don't have a logo at the end to say like this is, but it actually requires more of me in terms of like digging deep and wrestling with concepts and techniques that I just can't make it look pretty. I have to make it make sense, and that is a harder thing to do. So I charge more for that.
Right. I have a very similar client coming up in actually next week that I've been hired just as complete creative consultant. There is no I'm not touching a camera. I'm not designing anything. I'm there to talk, right? And for all of us, it's great to get to a point where you get paid for the way you think. You get paid for that individual thing that you're bringing to it, that personality, that thought process, the concept that you're bringing to it. So kind of moving from that process of hard labor where you're thinking about an hourly rate, I would recommend as some takeaways for you guys, think about that hourly rate, think about the intake form and what questions you need to ask, but also think about a half-day rate, a full-day rate. What does it take for you to be on a retainer? There's lots of different ways to think about that pricing, and it's up to you as the owner of your nano agency to decide that.
How much time do we have, just so I don't go off on a tangent and then it's it, huh, Jenelle? Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much. Can we give it up for Emily Wray and Mike Dunn?
Thank you guys.
Some fantastic information. Did you guys learn something? Awesome. So we want to thank you guys for coming, both campus and online, for tuning in. And we hope that you guys have a fantastic day and a great Hall of Fame week. Thank you, guys.
Also, if you see us walking around, feel free to ask us questions around campus
Ladies
this week.
and
Happy to help.
gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another session that we need to prepare for. Please move to the exits of the room. Please do not leave anything behind. Take your bags, cell phone, purses, and properly discard any trash you might have. Thank you.